If you're a member of a Flying Cider club, there's quite a few characters that you'll be destined to meet. Despite the vastness of our hobby, certain personalities find themselves almost copied and pasted throughout flying fields, and armchair engineers are still struggling to explain this phenomenon to this day. Either way, let's dive into part 2 of the 10 RC pilots you will meet. Number 1. The Opportunist. Picture this. You crash pretty hard. And by pretty hard, I mean about the same impact energy as what wiped out the dinosaurs.
Oh boy.
You almost don't even want to go inspect the crash site because you just know it's in so many pieces that it's not worth repairing. Suddenly, the Opportunist appears out of nowhere like a seagull near a dropped pizza slice. First, he reassures you that it's totally fixable, and before you even argue otherwise, he's dashing off to the crash site. You show up a minute later, and it's clear that repairing this aircraft is only worth it to an RC addict who's retired on food stamps. The Opportunist is right there to guilt-trip you into repairing the aircraft. He then details all the work that would be required to fix it, all while subliminally reassuring you that it's not worth your time. This is where the Opportunist strikes. He will exclaim, "Hey, if you're going to toss it, can I have it?" Sure enough, you give the aircraft to him, and it sits in his basement until his estate sale 10 years later. Number 2, the Lawnmower. This is the guy who mows the club's lawn. Surprise. But his good deeds don't come without a cost. You see, usually the lawnmower is in a much better bargaining position with the club's leadership than vice versa. Nobody wants to mow the field. So, if the lawnmower decides he's going to mow at 11 a.m. on a Sunday, no problem. Everyone will just stop flying for the next few hours. Did he only mow half the field? Well, no one's going to say anything out of fear this guy will quit. So, while you may think the club's president calls the shots at your field, think again. We've never seen someone get away with as much as the lawnmower guy does. This guy might also be part of a secret underground lawn mowing society, but we'll try and leave speculation out of the remainder of the video. P.S. We love the lawnmower, please keep mowing our fields. Number 3. The Tinkerer. This is the guy who spends most of his time at the field on the ground adjusting his prop nut with a torque wrench. Everything must be perfect, and everything can be even more perfect. Usually this guy keeps to himself at the field, but if you go up and ask for help, you'll receive a lot more than help. Sure, you simply asked if you could borrow an Allen to tighten your wheel collar, but that's only the beginning of your interaction. He noticed you were using rubber bands to hold on your wing. Surely that could lead to catastrophic failure. So, not only did he take up the remainder of your day talking conspiracy theories, he also entirely redesigned the wing mounting system on your flight test foamy. He's basically a self-sabotage version of the kamikaze pilot from our last video, as at Eric Is She suggested. Classic characteristics of this perfectionist include but are not limited to significantly overweight aircraft, 10 minutes of cumulative flight time across an entire flying season, and glasses. He spends so much time perfecting his airplanes that they never crash due to mechanical failure, it's always pilot error. Number 4. Mobile Hobby Shop. If your field is blessed enough to have someone who arrives with a mobile hobby shop in the back of their car, go treat this guy to a pizza sometime. Now, there's a few tiers to this gem. First, the guy whose car looks like a train wreck. The challenge isn't if he has what you need, it's if you can find what you need. You can paw through his heaps of props, screws, servo arms, and servo extensions, but it might actually be quicker to drive to the hobby shop or wait for a mail order. And you won't get tetanus from cutting yourself on a rusty elevator pushrod. Tier 2, the van. The guy with the van stocked with parts usually still only flies FM and nitro planes, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have what you need, as long as it's not metric. This guy is typically good for tougher repairs because he won't only supply epoxy, but also a lovely stick to mix it with. He's generous as hell, and always happy to dedicate an entire afternoon helping you fix whatever problems you have.
So this is that new covering material, is it? What do you call it?
Packing tape.
Packing tape. Beautiful, it is.
Tier 3, the guy with the trailer. This dude, while not as generous as the last, since he expects to be reimbursed for any parts you take, will probably have replacement wings at the ready should you need them. Just be sure to have some cash on you, since Venmo or Cash App are as baffling to him as quadcopters or electricity. Number 5. Speed Demon. The mortal enemy of the Speed Demon is stock power systems. CG, wing cube loading, flight time, or having a cowl are unimportant. All this guy needs is watts. It's best to get under a covered structure when this guy goes up, because if he were to lose control of his model, you would not be able to get out of the way in time. Fun fact, his throttle stick is permanently bent upwards. Remember Full Throttle or No Throttle Joe? He's back. We're honestly not sure why this guy doesn't just put his throttle on a switch. Also, timers or telemetry are foreign concepts. He lands when his motor is glowing and/or his battery has become a spicy pillow. Number 6. Mr. Talk Too Much. One of the best things about this hobby is that it gives those who enjoy it a common ground. If you find another RC pilot, you can immediately start talking about something. Batteries, engines, transmitters, club politics, you name it. Even if one of you is into scale helis and the other is into blimp racing, odds are you can chat about RC. but every club has someone who really enjoys these conversations, whether you do or not. Even after the conversation has become one way, the never-finished F4U Corsair build this guy just almost finished telling you about reminded him of this other project he got flying 2 years ago and still needs repairs, in his favorite engine, in his favorite full-scale plane, oh, and this battery. Number 7. The Performer. This might sound a little bit like the Kamikaze pilot from a previous episode in the series, but trust us, this guy is different because he has some level of skill, and the key word there is some. This is the guy whose ego is so fragile, he's totally willing to sacrifice an aircraft to prove the size of his cojones when someone yells lower, if the wide stance wasn't enough. He can do a half-convincing impression of a good pilot, but the more you watch, the worse it gets. Maybe it's a slow roll with no rudder input. Maybe it's a Harrier that drifts over the pits a little bit. But that has nothing to do with why he's called a Performer. He's called a Performer because if you bait him, he'll engage no matter what he's flying. He's a perfect example of free entertainment at the flying field, but we do have to warn you about one thing. He's got tunnel vision in such a way that he ignores everything except his performance objectives, so it might be best to land unless you're alright with a midair. When attempting to spot the Performer, examine his aircraft for missing parts such as wingtips, destroyed props, and terrible glue repairs. The biggest indicator will be throwing him some bait such as, "Hey Kyle, I heard last week Hank touched his tail in those weeds over there." If he responds with anything other than, "I'm good," then this is your guy. But if you found a Performer, his eyes will widen and his pupils will dilate beneath his Pit Viper sunglasses. He'll shout, "Witness me!" before annihilating another Skywing Slick in a blaze of 3D glory. Number 8. The Rich Guy. This guy absolutely earned his living, and none of us have any right to say otherwise. But goddammit, this dude doesn't know up from down. He regularly buys the most expensive aircraft and then destroys them in half the time it took the paid builder to assemble them. He then equates the reason for the crash to anything and everything except himself. He'll pull another out of the trailer and do it all over again. And while it might be hard to watch, he and his brethren are probably keeping many retailers above water. Number 9. Fly My Plane Guy. This is the guy who's quick to pass his transmitter off to you. Maybe too quick. This is one of our favorite stereotypes because these are some of the nicest people at the field. They're not having fun unless you are. And if you crash, no worries. Number 10. The Builder. What this guy lacks in ability to fly, he makes up for with ability to make. This is essentially the part of our hobby equated to the civic drivers of the car community. They're all about mods that look cool and serve no function. They do usually have some of the coolest models at the field, but anytime they take the aircraft up, everyone lands to watch. We believe this is a beautiful example of yin and yang, because without their unique ability to crash every model they touch, they wouldn't have a need to build again, where they'd further improve their building abilities, only to destroy it again for everyone's pleasure, leading to improved audience retention with each flight. Forget good flying or interesting builds, these guys are the source for the most viewed RC videos on YouTube. Scientists to this day are still struggling to find out why this folk experience a flatline as to growth as a pilot. Number 11, Mr. I Did That 10 Years Ago. We've all been invalidated by this guy. Pull your shiny new 3D plane out of the car, and he'll tell you he had a better one 10 years ago, got bored with it, and sold it. Just finished your speed plane? He used a pylon race 10 years ago, and those planes were much faster. Maybe you made a post on social media about something fun you did in RC, only to have this guy comment with, "Been there, done that 10 years ago," without even complimenting your work. Thanks for the invalidation, dickbag. Number 12. The Scholar. Pedantry isn't a phase, Mom. It's who I am. This is the kind of guy to make a video about commonly misused terms. Oh, wait. Number 13. The Video Producers. These are the guys who video everything. Everybody loves them. They are usually busy creating incredible content, turning an iPhone camera and beat-up foam airplane into literal art that Quentin Tarantino and Ridley Scott could really only dream of. Millions of adoring fans greet them when they step off their private helicopter when it lands at the flying field, fun cubs in hand. We usually don't even get to fly because we're too busy turning down million-dollar deals with Nike and Red Bull. Go ahead and let us know which ones we missed down below. Maybe even give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy watching your friends crash, or hit subscribe if you're interested in watching part 3. Happy landings, bounce one on for us, and we'll catch you next week with a new upload.